Josie how to play the ukulele. Josie is starting to write songs, and she's going to perform her song, Detention Blues. I'm anxious to hear the story behind it because her parents are in the first row. And as I say, Jerry's going to talk about England. In fact, just to tease a early part of that. So you were in England, and I know you were born in a subway stop in England. Did you go visit your birthplace?
And yes, I did.
All right.
It's the Highgate Tube Station.
Okay.
And I was born there, and it was a scene there because there is no plaque.
Huh.
That's wrong.
You'd think London would want to commemorate that.
How much does a plaque cost?
Yeah,
you
right.
Put it up in one of the tiles.
Yeah.
Gerald was born here.
Wow.
I have a key to the city for Cincinnati I can give you, and you can hang that up there. Hey, but let me ask you this. There are a lot of people, and we've chatted about this a little bit on our podcast, who want you to run for governor. Now, I'm sure not everybody, but there are people who are coming to you from various places around Ohio. So are they asking you when you're in England, because you were born in England, to run for Parliament?
Actually, this is God's truth. I'm on these various TV shows being interviewed, and that question did come up.
No kidding.
Because I was complaining that the reason I was born in England, but the reason I left is when I found out I couldn't be king. And now I come to America, and because I wasn't born here, I found out I can't be president.
They laid the dollar short, buddy.
Now, but I could go back and run. Apparently, as long as you are in what used to be the British Empire, you are eligible to run. So I'd have to go to Canada.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean,
well, one more speech by Trump, I'll be there.
there you go.
No, I mean it in only the nicest way.
Yeah.
Hey, the thing we do on this podcast that I get deluged with emails about, and
Which one, Gene?
constant calls from corporate, is this segment, because it's seen as a public service, as the thing we do called Ask the Lifeguard.
Yeah.
We found this guy, Dr. Gregory Shrand, found him through his website. Actually, he called us and was kind of honest about what you had me on. He has a website. You can go to it, askthelifeguard.com. And he is trained.
To that?
Oh, I think he gets a lot of hits, and he's trained as a medieval literature professor, but he doesn't find much work in that area. So he became a lifeguard and a hazardous waste guy and a bunch of other stuff. And
I can fix your chandelier.
Wine salesman, etc.
What does his card look like with all these occupations?
Yeah.
All the TV VCR repair.
Right. So anyway, we have him on the line, and I'm going to do this before. So he's been on one at a time. Dr. Gregory Shrand, AskTheLifeguard.com. On his website, it applies to the podcast as well. If you have a question you want to ask a lifeguard, and I've already gotten one, is already come in, and bam, 4 or 5, there's more than we're even going to be able to take. And you send these to Gene@jerryspringer.com.
Yeah.
And they're appearing.
About as many as go to Ask the Lifeguard.
And you can also ask questions about medieval literature. You might have a question about something dealing with medieval literature.
They generally go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so the first question, wow. First of all, Dr. Shrand, are you there?
Well,
Hello, yes.
That was the
Yes,
first
I'm here.
question. Are you there?
He's there.
That's the question that asked most often of the lifeguard. Are you there?
What's important? Help! How are you, Dr. Shrand?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying standing here on the beach.
Okay, well, see, he's in his natural habitat. You know, when you were on last, a question came up, and it's interesting. The first question
What's
is...
that in the background? Is that a
Sounds
seal?
like a beach to me. Anyway, there's a follow-up question from your last visit. And this is coming from Kevin from Jacksonville, Florida. Because we asked you about mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. So here's the question. If 3 of you lifeguards are tending to an unresponsive victim who needs mouth-to-mouth, and by the way, when there's an unresponsive victim, I've noticed this on the beach or at pools, it's like a red alert for the lifeguards, isn't it? They all show up.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so the question from Kevin from Jacksonville is, how do you all decide which of you 3 administers it?
Well, we actually have what might best be called a sexist seniority system.
All right.
So
What's that mean?
the oldest, most experienced can decide whether or not to be the one who administers the life-saving.
No.
If he defers, it'd be the next most experienced.
And why would
And
he
if he
defer?
defers, well, he might defer because if it's a woman, it's not his type.
Yeah, no,
Or if it's a man,
that's
not his
at all
type.
correct.
Yeah.
Dr. Shrand, can you hold on a second?
That's not at all correct.
Megan,
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
You were telling us before the show,
Yeah.
this is serious.
This is-
You have just been trained in this.
I have been, yeah. I'm
You can
certified
do-
to teach CPR and all that
and
stuff.
to
yeah.
give mouth to mouth.
And to give
Have
mouth
you
to mouth,
ever
yep.
heard about that?
Yeah, no,
you
that's
can
not a
deny?
thing.
That is not-
Really not a thing.
You're not allowed to do that.
No, in fact, you don't swear to it, but it is frowned upon. In fact, if you do not perform CPR on somebody and you have the ability to.
So if I was drowning,
Oh Jesus! Totally opened myself up to that one, didn't I? Wow.
because I
You know what? They just revoked my card. I can't.
I rarely do a show when I'm not drowning at some point.
Very true.
All right, Dr. Shrand, here's a question from Karen from Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
She's from Boise, Idaho. If I'm caught in a rip tide, how do I get out of it? That's a good question. If
a great
you're
question.
ocean swimming, tell us what is a rip tide and how do you get out of it if you're caught in one?
Well, a riptide is a sudden outflow of water where the waves from the left and the waves from the right both go out together.
All right?
And if you get caught in it, it can pull you out.
All right? How do you
And the
get-
way to get out of it
Yep.
is to yell, help.
Again,
It doesn't sound
doesn't
like
sound
that.
right to me. I mean, I don't know what his qualifications are.
Are
but-
you a doctor? With all due respect, are you certified?
Yes, I'm a certified lifeguard and PhD in medieval English.
Oh, now see, that's interesting because
makes
a
you
question.
certifiable.
Yeah. Here's a question that just has come in.
By the way, I hate to interrupt, but I also do work on storm doors.
Okay. Okay. Here's a question from Julius. This is an appropriate name. It's a question about medieval literature. And I don't know, is it medieval or medieval? 4 syllables or 3? You tell us, Dr. Shrand.
It's pronounced usually with 3. It means Middle Ages,
Okay.
medieval.
Medieval. Okay. So it's a question about medieval literature from Julius from Houston, Texas. If several members, oh, this is a good one. If several members of Beowulf's family are drinking at the grog house and the bartender wants to refer to them, does he call them the Bay Wolves or the Bay Wolfs?
Beowulf. There's an extra syllable.
Well, have you got a minute?
Actually, we don't, but thanks so much.
Well, look, the question is the plural of Beowulf, like is it, and you also have to wonder if Beowulfs
You don't
are
have to
endangered in
Are they
Yellowstone.
endangered?
You just don't have to wonder.
So what's the plural of Beowulf?
Well, he was the hero of the Beotish nation, never married, no sons, and when he died, that was the end of their story. So there never was a plural.
There you go.
Oh, boy, that's interesting.
Simple
That's
enough.
interesting.
A
Here's
trick question.
the question. Last question.
Julius.
This is from Tyrone of Atlanta. If Muhammad Ali, the prize fighter, and David Hasselhoff, the lifeguard, got into a bar fight, who do you think would win, the lifeguard or the prize fighter?
Well, the lifeguard would win
All right.
because David could run away in slow motion.
Oh. All right, Dr. Greg Shrand asked the lifeguard.
We make fun, but there's a lot of really interesting information there.
A lot. Was there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask you, Jerry.
No, you
Part of the business.
Well, I
Yeah,
want
go
to
ahead,
ask you
yes.
something about England, but before we do that, and I have a bone to pick with both you and Megan.
Oh, good.
You guys come in here and you're always quick with these ideas that sound kind of clever and sometimes even funny. And you have one about, well, let's set the world record. How many miles in 1 week can we put on a car that's
That was
unlimited
your
To be
miles?
clear, to be clear, Mr. Galvin.
Yeah, thank you.
That's you. That's all you.
That's all you.
You were going to drive around a parking lot for 6 months. I like the last time that we checked in on this.
Your idea about driving a. That's
I was wondering why that never happened, because I've noticed it isn't happening.
Because
It
you
isn't-
never did it.
It never happened, okay. Jerry, in England, what did you notice, if anything, about the viewpoint of your average Brit toward America these days, or most specifically, what do they think of Trump from what you observe?
Well,
Our President Trump.
it really is amazing if you've made. I've been going to England several times a year forever, and if you have been recently, and you've been a few years ago, the change in people's view about America is honestly, it's frightening, because these are the British people. These are, the only thing different among us is the accent, to be honest. The culture is exactly the same. In fact, I have long argued that there are greater differences between rich Americans and working class Americans, or rich British people and working class British people, than there is between both countries that are rich and both countries that are working class. In other words, the class distinction is greater than the nationality differences. So wealthy Brits are just like wealthy Americans. I mean, you could have been around them for your whole life. There's nothing different about it. And same with working class people. But the resentments that are building up, both in Britain now and in America, as we've seen, are similar. But what is noticeable is you always felt, any place you go in Europe, any place you go in most of the world, to be honest, when you were an American traveling, it was always a good feeling. It was always like, boy, one day I'd like to be able to come to your country. And I'm not talking just about refugees escaping horror. Just, this was a place where young people one day, if they could make it here in America, that would be great. That feeling is gone. The feeling towards America now, well, if you talk about Trump, it's from mockery to downright dislike, or more extreme elements, hate. It's really uncomfortable. I mean, I'm sitting there having lunch, and people just come up and say, not even, hi, Jerry, just, what's going on with, what about you and Trump? I mean, your people and Trump and that. So they get all of our news all the time, and they seem obsessed with it. So it's having an effect. Now, the question is, does any of this really matter? In other words, right now, so they're not crazy about us. They don't like us. They think we're foolish. They think... Not all of it, though, can be placed on Trump. As much as some of us might be very unhappy that he's the president, this new view of America can't all be placed on his doorstep. I believe that the new view of the world towards America has been about 20 years in the making. There are three things that shook the world's confidence that we were the leader. We were the country you looked up to, the country you could count on, and things got difficult for you. And the first was the war in Iraq. That was the first thing that, boy, America really blew it. And we, because Europe and NATO really took it seriously, when we were attacked, all the NATO nations, from day one, were behind us. They sent their people in to fight in the war in Iraq. They were totally behind us. It was the end of Blair's political career, by the way he supported America in that war. So they were all there, and the fact that it was a war that came about under false pretenses, they started to lose confidence in America. What are you guys doing? And, the fact that we're still fighting there. So that was the first thing. The second break in confidence of America as the shining light of the world was at the end of the Bush presidency, the 2008 collapse of our economy, or our banking system, our financial system. That really shook people's confidence because there was always the notion that America, particularly after the Marshall Plan of after World War II, that America would always economically be there to bail countries out. You know, we were the gold standard. And when all of a sudden our economy was in trouble, and the fact is the growth in other world economies was better than ours, and it was our financial system that was going under, that was the second thing that, wait a second, maybe this romanticism we have about America is misplaced. And then, of course, the third thing is now Trump. And, you know, when they see red, white, and blue, the American flag, to them the red are the red Trump hats. The white is his flag of surrender in terms of being a leader of the world anymore. We're pulling out of the Paris Accords. We're pulling out of we can't guarantee that we'll be there for NATO. All these things of just turning inward, America only for America. We're not necessarily going to be there for the rest of the free countries in the world. We're going to focus now just on us. That's kind of scary. So you put those three things, and then blue is because everyone's blue about it. But you put all those things together, the war in Iraq, followed by 2008 financial collapse, and now Trump, it is clear, and this is not me being partisan, just go there yourself. Read any British paper, French paper, German paper. They see the most powerful influences in the world now being Putin, China, and Merkel of Germany. Merkel is now viewed as their real leader. I mean, we're even hearing Canada saying they're going to have to start thinking about going it alone for whatever ability they have to do that. The poll that just came out 2 days ago, of polling all the Western nations in the world among the population, was a poll of 14,000 people. Only 22% of Mexicans have a positive view of America. 37% of Brits have a positive view of America. Germany, which used to be like 75, 80%, they loved us. We guaranteed their security during the Cold War years. Maybe 40% a positive view of America anymore. We have to think about this, because if we are going to go it alone, that is going to be returned to us. When there's a crisis now, we can't guarantee that the nations are suddenly going to jump to America's help. If there's more terrorism and we need help from the other countries in terms of their intelligence, finding out where these cells are, they're not necessarily going to be there for us. How insulted the people of London were when the day after London had the terrorist attack a couple of months ago, or last month, when the van hit the people walking along the London Bridge. And then Trump comes out and blasts the Muslim mayor of London. When you compare that with British response to our 9/11 when they played the national anthem at Buckingham Palace. This matters. What the rest of the world views us, because we are a global, this is a planet. Days of building a wall around America are not going to work. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care how conservative you are. It's not going to work. Everything we buy, much of it is made in other countries. This idea that we can just do everything on our own is crazy. I grew up as a kid, and those of us who are near my age, we all grew up thinking that the only threat to America was the possibility of Soviet missiles. We thought if anything was going to undo us, it would be that. And we built bomb shelters, and we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. We grew up in a world that said if we can just defend ourselves against communism, we'll be okay. We'll be around for centuries as a free society. Whoever thought that the greatest threat to America being a leader in the world would come not from Moscow, but from the White House or Washington, D.C. And that's where we are today. Don't take my word from it. Go to any newspaper in the world right now. We've given up as being the leader of the free world, and that's a shame.
Thank you, Jerry. Well, we here at the...
What a happy note.
I know. I was like, how do you end after that? Really uplifting. That's great. Thanks, Chair. Other than that, at Tales, Tunes, Tomfoolery, we like to bring folks on that are kind of young, up-and-coming musicians, and we have one that's coming up here now. If we can welcome, yes, Miss Josie Galvin. Josie is the youngest performer we have had on our show. She is 10 years old, and she is here today with her teacher, Hanna. Hi, Hanna. How are you?
Good.
And Hanna, you teach here at the Folk School, correct?
I do.
Excellent. How long have you been working around down here?
I just came to town in December from Chicago.
Excellent. Well, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Josie, how long have you been playing the ukulele?
Since January.
Since January. Wow. Okay. And you're confident to come up with, that's amazing. That's so cool.
That's half your life. Oh, my
That is half her life. But this isn't your first, from what I understand, you perform pretty regularly, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't
She
you...
is, I must, because, you know, obviously she's Jean's
Granddaughter. Yep.
And literally I've known her since she was born. She's incredibly talented. I mean, in
Yeah.
dance, in, you know, you go to Hilton Head and you get up on the stage there, you know, when they have these kids come up there,
Yeah.
and every kid tries to sing a song or do something like that. She gets up on stage and blows people away.
Well, I'm
She's
excited
got
to
it.
hear
It's in her
her.
genes, not this gene.
Not
No,
this
no.
Gene. Clearly not this Gene. Well, great. So I understand you do have a couple songs that you want to play for us. What's your first one called?
I'll fly away.
You're going to sing I'll Fly Away.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love this song. We'll have it. Josie Galvin.
Some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to the home on God's celestial shores. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory.
Excellent. That was so cool. Thank you. So you started ukulele 4 months ago.
Probably 6 months ago.
6 months ago?
Yeah-ish, I don't know.
Do you play other instruments too?
I've messed around with the dulcimer, kind of. I can play a couple songs.
Yeah. And you
Yeah,
liking the
that's-
ukulele best so far?
Yeah.
Very cool. So you wrote your next song, is that correct?
Yes.
And it's called
Detention Blues.
Detention Blues, and Mom and Dad are here. So what made you put pen to paper on this, Josie? What made you write it?
Okay, so I didn't get sent to detention. No, it's not that bad. Okay, so I was thinking, since it's blues, I personally don't like school always that much.
No.
So I thought like blues, something always happens there. So I was thinking, what's the worst thing that could happen to me at school? And well, I had a sleepover with a friend coming up, and what if I got sent to detention and I couldn't do it? So I thought about that, and then I wrote down other ideas, and then we just decided to do that.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
let's hear it. I can't wait to hear it.
Okay. It's kind of a comedy, so.
She's satirical already. She's 10. I love it.
That's it. 1, 2, 3. It's. It's 4 o'clock, and I'm still at school. It's 4 o'clock, and I'm still at school. I got the meanest, baddest, straight down detention blues. Studying for my test, got nothing else to do. I'm studying for my test, got nothing else to do. I got the meanest, baddest, straight down detention blues. Oh, I'd rather be hanging with my friends, having fun. I didn't do anything wrong, I was just chewing gum. Oh, my teacher said this down, I think she's taking us news. Oh, my teacher said this down, I think she's taking us news. I think this might be my chance to break out of detention blues. I think this might be my chance to break out of detention blues. I think this might be my chance to break out of detention. But
That is awesome. So cool.
Did I make the point that that's my granddaughter?
Right?
Yeah.
So Josie, I have a couple. What kind of music do you listen to? Like, who do you like?
well, I listen to like pop music, but I don't know. It's okay.
Yeah.
My favorite types of music, I like jazz, I like folk, and I like bluegrass. So
Did Grandpa maybe have something to do with that? Was there maybe some influence?
yeah.
Did Grandpa ever tell you all the times he was in detention?
So many.
Next Sunday when you guys get together, ask
Ask
him.
him about that. Well,
Hey, by the way-
yeah, go ahead, Gene.
Well, a point that I want to. Let's hear it for Hannah.
Yeah,
because
Hannah.
I can tell
She is
you.
my granddaughter.
I can tell you that Josie loves Hannah, and Hannah is guiding her in whatever's evolving here, and time will tell. But I just brag about the Folk School Coffee Parlor.
Yeah.
And now I've got my own granddaughter down here, part of this, because, and Josie, isn't it true? We sit here on Wednesday afternoons when you have your
Oh
lesson.
yeah, I love it.
And we watch, and I'm always in your ear about, hey, that's so-and-so from the Harm Brothers. Actually, she's from the Harm
Oh,
Brothers.
yeah.
And somebody from the Tillers and the
There's
Price
always
Hill Hustle.
somebody.
There's always some really good
Oh yeah.
players who are then teaching just as Hannah is. So the Folk School Coffee Parlor is an amazing place. You're traveling through the Midwest, you have got to stop here, because that's why it's called the Folk
Yeah.
School Coffee Parlor.
Yeah. It's
This is
great.
partially what they do, and Josie's now experiencing it.
And let's put a plug in also for the whole concept of, because I know it's under pressure now, is teaching the arts in school.
Yep.
I mean, I know we have to learn math and science, but we got to. And Gene, you've been an educator for years. The importance of that, not to be sloughed off, but in the development of any child, and the way not only does that increase your brain and parts of the brain that are important for other skills as well, but it just rounds you out. You know, we don't want to just build computers. We've got to support the arts, because frankly, I think if you got some feeling for the arts, you're going to be a much more sensitive, caring grown-up. And, you know, there are not that many artists that are going around
And
wanting
this,
to do bad things.
Again, Hanna, 10-year teacher, Chicago Public Schools in the arts. She is trained, she is an orchestra teacher, so she can teach any instrument. We're always talking about this, the same thing Jerry was just referring to.
She plays everything.
So, anyway.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, you guys are going to take us out on Down by the Riverside, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be the highlight of your 10 years.
And we're sorry. We're very sorry, Josie.
Yeah,
But
the
Jerry
next
is
10
going
will
to
be
sing.
better. Don't worry.
Yeah, Jerry's going to jump in there with you. Our bad.
I'm gonna lay down my burdens down by
The riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside, I'm gonna lay
down my burdens
down by the riverside, studying war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. We're gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more, I ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more, I ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. Y'all come back now, you hear?